Hey there, welcome to the garden. I just did a super fun video setting up these tomatoes in this little tomato pumpkin. I'm not yet fully adjusted to fall, as you can tell. These pumpkins in this pumpkin tower, and I potted up a few violas, which I need to continue to do. I've got a lot of violas that I want to get planted in different places in the garden, but I'm also feeling a little bit of an urgency to make sure that I get all of my seeds in the ground soon, because we are getting towards the end of September, and at a certain point it starts to be too late as far as the warmth and the sunlight and everything, and seedlings just have a hard time getting started and really getting growing and going enough by the time that it gets cold. Like, I find if I start my seeds, direct sow them, that is outside in, I don't know, October, it kind of is too late already. It's getting dark a lot earlier. We're starting to get nights that are in the 50s, and it's not as good a growing time. So I want to do my last few direct sown seeds. I want to get those in the ground basically today, right now, so that they are going and hopefully we have enough time. So basically the last few things that I want to do from seed direct sown in the garden are a few carrots, and then I'm going to throw in a little bit of kale, and I may do a couple more containers of peas, the sugar bomb peas that I did over here in the Unheated Greenhouse. These are the sugar bomb peas, which are dwarf peas, so they actually will grow in a container and they don't need trellising and all of that. So I may throw a couple of those. I've got a couple containers kind of earmarked for that. But the big thing I want to focus on today are my carrots, and I'll talk a little bit about planting carrots in containers. Also gonna put some green onion starts in containers as well. And even though those aren't direct sown, I do want to make sure that I really get them planted out and ready to go now, because again, I don't want to wait too long. I found with green onions, you do want to get them in their pots in some space out in the garden growing, again, kind of around this time, because otherwise they just stay super small and they don't get big. And I would love for them to be big so I can even start harvesting them in the winter. Both the green onions and the carrots are going to grow beautifully in containers, and they're going to grow all through the winter, or at least survive and live all through the winter. Whether or not they put on a lot of growth, we'll see. But here in Zone 7A, they are great kind of all winter plant. And the carrots, actually, I want to start now. I won't be harvesting them till the spring. They probably will not mature. They won't have time to mature to harvest, but they'll just keep growing. They'll hang out in the ground and grow, and then I'll be able to harvest them hopefully in the spring. And the green onions, kind of the same thing. Hopefully they'll put on a little growth now, and maybe like late spring we can start harvesting them. I don't think they have quite enough time to get fully mature before like we get into frosts. And like, kind of once things start to frost, then everything kind of just pauses and doesn't really grow a ton. But I actually did start these green onions inside in July. So they've had a bit of a head start, and I think once they get into containers and they get a little bit more room, they're going to be really, really happy, and they'll probably put on a nice like rush of growth. So let me chat with you quick about the carrots that I selected for containers and what kind of container I am going to grow my carrots. These are Adelaide carrots, and I'm going to grow them in a grow bag. So the nice thing about the grow bag is it has straight sides, so there's room for the carrots just to grow down straight. There's no like tapering like you might have in a terracotta pot, where it tapers toward the middle. These are going to go straight down, and it's also nice because it's just full of nice soft potting soil, so there's plenty of room for the carrot roots to just hopefully grow and stretch, and they won't get any kind of weird shape or anything. So I think a grow bag is going to be really a lot of good drainage in the grow bag too, which should be really nice for carrots, so they're not getting soggy and there's no rot or anything. And the Adelaide carrots are fun because they're actually a hybrid that is kind of like they're baby carrots. So they get like 3 to 4 inches long, so they're not super huge. I mean, you wouldn't want to pick a carrot variety that was going to get some sort of massive, some carrots can get pretty big, massive carrot root, because obviously it's going to be constrained by the container size, and also because we planted containers, we're going to probably seed them, you know, slightly closer together than would be ideal. But the Adelaide carrots have been bred to grow better in a dense, more like densely compact area. They're only going to want to do a 3 or 4 inch root anyways, and they're going to be happier in this container situation and with all their little carrot friends close by. So I think it's actually going to be a really perfect thing, and I think the grow bag is just going to work out great. I'm really excited. I have seeded carrots in the fall here last year in my raised bed. They did really well and they were super happy, and they were ready to go for spring, so it was awesome. So I think this is going to be really good. And the nice thing about the grow bag is that I don't have to devote all the raised bed space. It's hard for me when I devote raised bed space to something in the fall that then wants to carry out in spring, because once we get to April and we get to our last frost, I'm like ready to plant out my summer annuals. I don't want to wait. I want to put in my, you know, eggplants and tomatoes and everything. And so this way I don't have to pull the carrots out early, which is what I ended up doing this spring, because I was ready to plant other things. This year I can just let them hang out in the container. They'll probably be happier. The soil is going to be much softer and easier for them to grow in than in the raised beds anyways. And then I don't have to worry about them being in the way, or if I change my plans in the spring, they won't be a problem because they'll just be in a container that I can just move around where I need it to go and then harvest them when they're ready. So that's another benefit too. If you're like, wow, I don't know about planting something in the fall, I'm going to harvest in the spring, like who knows what I'm going to be doing in the spring. This is a way to kind of get around that issue. And at least for me, that's definitely a benefit. All right. I've got some chicken wire to make sure that the squirrels don't get in there and disrupt my carrots. And I'm going to use some landscape staples to hold this down. More just for good measure, and then we're going to sprinkle our carrots. And I don't want to have to thin them too much, so I'm going to leave a little space, but I'm also going to sow this, just kind of scatter them in here. I guess maybe I could have done rows. That's all right. Maybe next time. Okay. So there's a few, and then I can always come in and thin them. I'm going to surface sow my carrots. I do not usually have an issue with them germinating. People will tell you that they have a hard time getting their carrots to germinate because you do kind of surface sow them, and then they do need to have nice consistent moisture. But for me, I water my garden every morning pretty consistently, and so I've never had a problem with them germinating or drying out or anything like that. So I'm not too worried about that. I will just water them daily until they're really established to make sure that they don't dry out and I don't have any issues in that regard. Okay, now let's go look at the green onions, and I'll just pop them in containers. That's a really simple process, just potting them out of my starting tray and putting them into some containers. Is the last of the seedling tray. I did plant out my pak choi over here. I ended up putting it just in the raised bed, which wasn't my original plan, but of course plans change. And then we've got a couple this is not Swiss chard, not kale. What am I saying? Collard greens left, and I have some apple blossom snapdragons, which I think are going to go into a container as well. But then we have these green onions, which these are bunching onions. So what I'm going to do is actually, I think, basically, let's see how easily they come out of here. Perfect. I'm just going to put a few of these bunches, like maybe 3 or 4 in the container, and then 3 or 4 in this container as well. I'll put a little more potting soil, and then just put the chicken wire around it so that the squirrels hopefully don't dig it out too badly. All right, we'll just pop these in here. A few little clumps. They're gonna be so happy. clumps so that hopefully the squirrels are deterred from getting in here. I think that'll work. Hopefully. All right, there we go. So this looks great. And now I may come in with this one and put a few seeds in here too, just because it's a little sparse, but otherwise I think this is gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna water it in and it should be good to go. I think it'll be absolutely happy, and as long as the squirrels don't dig them up, which hopefully the chicken wire will work, then it should be all good. All right, well, I am just gonna water all of that in. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.